Hey everybody, time for another science vid. I tried to do this one on Google Slides. We'll see if this works. It's my first one, so it might be kind of clunky, but it looks like it's working so far. But get my face out of the way here. Might have to keep moving that around, but here we go. Okay, another science vid, and this one is going to be about Ice Age animals. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted to say happy equinox to everybody. That the fall equinox was yesterday on September 22nd at 6:30 in the morning, and what that means, it's kind of complicated, and I tried to come up with an easy way to explain it, and I don't really understand it completely, but essentially what happens on the equinox, and there's two every year. There's one in the spring around March 21st and one in the fall yesterday, September 22nd. It's usually on September 22nd. And what happens on those 2 days is that there's for everybody in the northern hemisphere, so from the equator on up to the North Pole, and that's where we live in the northern hemisphere, there's 12 hours a day and there's 12 hours a night. It's equal day and night. And if you've been paying attention, the days are getting shorter. You know, the sunset is happening a little earlier every day, and the sunrise is happening a little later every day. So the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting longer. And so yesterday was the day that it's exactly the same, day and night, 12 hours day, 12 hours night. Just kind of a cool meteorological or astronomical phenomena. And, you know, on this little graphic I have here, it shows the Earth on a tilt like that, or the Earth is like on a little bit of an angle. It's tilted back a little bit like that. And so as it goes around the sun, it tilts towards the sun in the northern hemisphere in the summertime, and away from the sun in the wintertime. And that's what makes it seem like the days are shorter. Anyways, that's complicated stuff. I meant this to just be kind of a fun little short thing. Happy equinox, everybody. Let's move on to some really cool critters. Okay, has everybody seen Ice Age? It's a really cool movie. It stars this woolly mammoth and this little squirrel critter up here who's always chasing an acorn. And then there's a couple other characters. And the bad guy is this scimitar cat. And we'll have some cool graphics of the scimitar cat later. But Ice Age is kind of based on a true story in a weird way. All those animals did exist. They're all extinct now. I need to see that movie again just to refresh my memory. But woolly mammoth isn't around anymore. The scimitar cat is gone. There's definitely squirrels still around. I think this species of squirrel is extinct also. But the Ice Age movie, you know, took place like 15, 20,000 years ago when there was like a ton of ice all over North America, just these giant sheets of glaciers. But things changed. The world got a lot warmer around here. The ice melted, and a lot of these animals got hunted into extinction by humans, or they couldn't handle the change in temperature and habitat, so they went extinct. But we occasionally find bones of theirs. We find fossils, and here is a mastodon. This is a graphic of a mastodon. And these bones here, you see a big jawbone with teeth, big leg bone over here. There's a rib on the far right and a vertebrae where the rib attaches into the back. All those bones right there were found in Sequim about 43 years ago by this guy named Emmanuel Manis. When he was out with his tractor, he was digging a pond to put fish in it on his property, and he came upon two giant tusks. Check this out. Oh, I'm gonna move my face. There's Emmanuel and his wife, and he was out digging, and he found these giant tusks from a mastodon, which is like a mammoth. Looks a lot like a woolly mammoth. They're just a little bit different. He found two giant tusks, and so he called the university scientists, and they came out and they did a big archaeological dig on his property for years and years, and they ended up finding those cool bones we saw on the last slide, the teeth and the jawbone, femur, and they found this is really, really cool. They found an arrowhead embedded in one of the ribs of the mastodon, which means that it was hunted by humans, and they were able to date. They were able to see how old these the arrowhead was. The arrowhead was actually made out of a bone from a different mastodon. So these humans had sharpened this piece of bone and turned it into a weapon, and either shot a bow and arrow or threw a spear, and it embedded itself into this mastodon's rib. And so these scientists found this arrowhead in the rib, which was evidence that early humans were in this area around 14,000 years ago. Here it is over here, 13,800 is what they dated it back, which was way older than any previous evidence of humans in the area. It was between 6,000 and 9,000 years ago, and this site in Sequim pushed that date back a long ways, like almost 5,000 years. So it's a super important archaeological site in Sequim. And it's a like National Historic Register spot, and thousands of people came to see it over the years. And they ended up finding bones of buffalo, which aren't in this area anymore, and caribou, and all this cool pollen from different plants that aren't in this area anymore. They found ash from a volcano that exploded like 8,000 years ago in this archaeological site. All kinds of cool stuff came out of this guy, Emmanuel, digging around with his tractor up at his place in Sequim. It's just off River Road, that first exit in Sequim as you're heading east into Sequim. But pretty cool stuff. There's those arrowheads. Here's just a neat photo of an archaeological dig. So this is kind of how scientists do it. They very carefully dig around, and they have different tools. They use like little teeny paintbrushes and brooms to like move the dirt away when they find a bone, so they don't damage the bone. And here's a big giant dinosaur that this guy here is excavating or slowly trying to reveal. So archaeological dig sites are really, really cool, things. And there's been a ton around here because there's been these cool Ice Age animals they found in early human sites of activities and stuff like that. So there's a lot of neat history in this area with archaeology. Archaeology just means the study of old human stuff, basically. So, and this was a tooth of a mastodon. Look at how big that thing is. It takes two people to lift this thing. It was a molar. It's those teeth in the back of their mouth they used to grind up plants. Mastodons ate like trees and big shrubs. I mean, they ate a bunch of plants every single day. So this is a molar that fell out of like a bluff on the beach in Sequim. And this couple found it in 2016, like 4 years ago. So super cool. A lot of people go out like after big storms, and the bluffs kind of crumble down, and all this dirt and stuff falls out of the bluffs. And these fossils occasionally are just lying there on the beach, and that's what happened. These people found this fossil. They found this giant tooth, and they found some other stuff that had just fallen out of the hillside after a big storm. Super, super cool. And a couple of these things are in the Sequim Museum. If you're ever in Sequim and the museum's open, go in there and you can see the real life bones of these old mastodons. It's really, really neat stuff. Okay, this guy here, this is Thomas Jefferson. as in Jefferson Elementary, the guy our school is named after. You know, that guy in the hallway when you come into school, he's wearing a mask right now. This is him, Thomas Jefferson, third president of the United States. And guess what? He's the guy that sent Lewis and Clark across the country to explore. And he was obsessed with Ice Age animals. He was obsessed with mammoths and mastodons in particular. And he even has a mammoth named after him because he contributed so much to the science and exploration and different archaeological or different digs of these critters. And so they named a mammoth after him called the Jeffersonian mammoth. And there's a picture of one of its skeletons. So that was kind of cool. When I was researching all this, I was like, whoa, Thomas Jefferson, he was way into this stuff. A neat connection for our school. And now we're just going to kind of cruise through and look at some different Ice Age animals. Some of these were in the movie, some of them weren't. But this one is also named after Thomas Jefferson because he was just into all things Ice Age. And this was Jefferson's ground sloth. And this thing was huge. This thing, when it stood up, was like 15 feet tall. So that's, if you were to stand up in our classroom, its head would go through the ceiling and be another like 6 feet above that. It's a little bit taller than like the basketball hoops or the playground structures outside at school. So this was a humongous sloth that ate trees. You can see there on the right in the back, that one's like pulling down a tree and eating it. And there's some kind of mean looking critter there, snarling at it. But it's just so cool to think of these animals like hanging out together and just these enormous beasts walking around where we are today. And I don't know if Jefferson's ground sloth was here on the Olympic Peninsula, but it's definitely in North America. So, up in Canada and places like that to the north is where they found a lot of these fossils. Yukon's giant camel. We had a giant camel in North America. I forgot about this. I learned this a long time ago, but I forgot that we had our own camel in North America. So cool. And the Yukon horse. Horses are actually from North America. They evolved and became horse-like in North America, then traveled over the Bering Land Bridge, which was, we can get into that later, but basically back in the olden times, you could walk from Alaska over to Russia because the land was connected way back when. In horses, they came from North America and then went over to Asia and down into the Middle East. And, that's where I think of horses from. It's where they're native to. But then in North America, they went extinct. They got hunted out, or for other reasons, they stopped being around. And so that was a pretty cool, interesting fact that I didn't know before starting this whole Google slide presentation. The giant short-faced bear, 14 feet tall, about the same size as that sloth. I mean, just an enormous bear, bigger than the polar bears that exist today, bigger than the Kodiak bears. Just a monster. And it had that kind of short face you can see there. Its snout wasn't as long. Really cool creature. And this thing, the Berengian lion, used to be around here. Bigger than the African lion, bigger than the biggest lion that exists today. It was cruising around. Not anymore. Went extinct. And here it is, the bad guy from Ice Age, this American scimitar cat. And scimitar is a type of sword and is named after those big teeth, big curved canine teeth that it has there. And this is kind of a grisly photo. It's like just killed an antelope. And there's its cubs there on the left being like, oh yeah, we're going to eat good tonight. And there's a woolly mammoth tusk there to the left of them and some alive woolly mammoths in the back. I just really love these cartoons of these Ice Age creatures. It's just so cool to imagine what this place was like back in the day with these giant creatures roaming around. But again, not anymore. The scimitar is long gone. And but we were finding their bones occasionally, and scientists are able to recreate what they looked like and look at like modern day animals that were related to these things and kind of hypothesize or guess as to what they looked like. But anyways, guys, that's it. That's the science vid. Kind of long and rambling, and I hope you enjoyed it. And see if I can get out of here. Happy equinox, everybody.